And I'm now going to introduce Richard Hanbury. He's the CEO and founder of Sana Health, a very interesting non-invasive pain therapy and other indications, hopefully, which he'll talk about. So Richard, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Jim, and it's been a pleasure to be here. My name is Richard Hanbury. I'm CEO of Sana Health. I started in this in pain modulation for personal need. Age 19, I had to drive a Jeep off a bridge in the Yemen to avoid a head-on collision next to a petrol truck. So I had an STI, TBI, aortic tear, and a nerve damage pain problem that was so severe I was given a 5-year life expectancy. What you see now is the fruits of having to fix something for myself, and then taking it out. Long 28-year journey to get to where we are, to get it out to the market. So we are an audio-visual neuromodulation. Our go-to-market is on fibromyalgia. We are essentially anxiety relief on demand, which means we have a whole host of applications that we can go after in pain and mental health, anywhere where anxiety is a large component. But fibromyalgia, as I said, is our go-to-market. It's a very large market, and we're currently raising a bridge round on a safe note. Now, let's get this going down. So yeah, everyone here is well aware of the size of the pain market, specifically within fibromyalgia. The average person with fibromyalgia takes 5 to 8 drugs in a cocktail. Lyrica is the most common single denominator, and then Cymbalta. But there's also large amounts of tramadol, there's anxiety meds, there's sleep meds. There's a whole host of comorbidities that all get treated with individual drugs. Because of this situation within the fibromyalgia market, we got given, and the strength of our pilot data, we got given breakthrough designation in April this year. And fibromyalgia is what we're going out after. We've had 4 pilots complete so far, seeing a 20 to 40% average pain reduction, and also very significant reductions in depression and anxiety. And we're a connected device that goes through to an app. So here is the device itself. Someone puts it on, turns it on, and lies back, and they're getting a pulse of light at their eyes and a pulse of sound into their ears, which goes through a complex series of algorithms, which we are in the process of building into a closed loop feedback system. We are a class 2 device. We're on market as a 513G wellness device while we're going through pivotal studies to be able to market for specific indications. In terms of the mechanism of action, there is this thing called hemispheric balance, where you're looking at the left and right hemispheres of the brain and overall amounts of activity across a basket of cognitive functions. So typically 6 cognitive functions that are tested in this basket. And this EEG picture on the left, you've got left-hand side of the brain versus right, and again, left hemisphere versus right-hand side after the use of the device. That was a total cumulative 4 hours of treatment. Now, once you improve that hemispheric balance, we have data, some early preliminary data to show that that then corresponds with a decrease in pain perception. And just to borrow a slide from Warren earlier today, essentially, we are doing the same thing as the neurostim, but just doing it in a different way. We're using the auditory and visual cortex as a way in which we're getting patterns of impulses into the brain. And so you can probably gather from that our entire focus is central mediation of pain, and hence why anxiety and pain, so anxiety, depression, and pain and sleep for us come into something that we are able to impact. So we're at-home use, we're low cost, no addiction benefits, and again, sleep, anxiety, depression, and pain, and the central mediation of pain. In that original pilot, we were 5 times better at improving quality of life than Lyrica. And 80% of people who start taking Lyrica stop because of the the severity of the side effects. One of our PIs commented that the average one of his patients starting Lyrica would be expected to put on 25 pounds of weight, amongst other side effects. Now we're at about actually a year and a half after that pilot, and we still have 85% of the patients still electing to use the device on a daily basis. The FIQR is a overall quality of life metrics. This is the same data in a different format. You can see screen to baseline, baseline to follow-up, and post-follow-up. And the same on the GAD-7 for anxiety. So that was the initial pilot. We have an efficacy pivotal underway at Duke. Essentially, that trial had a little bit of a hiccup because what we produced in sham was a low-dose version that was far too effective. So we are now running that to completion of a 7-month follow-up to give us 7-month data, which is essentially going to end up a 7-month one-arm data. But you can see from this early data that down to 7 months, we're still getting a very strong effect. Now, these bars are still so wide here because only a few people have finished 7 months, but by the time it's completed, these will be much smaller. This is PHQ-8, excluding people with no depression or mild depression. So again, very strong results on reduction in depression. And likewise with anxiety, very, very strong results in reduction of anxiety, which just gets better month after month after month with the use of the device. So as I said, we're on market as a wellness device. We have just started the largest non-drug fibromyalgia study ever done with 1,000 people. The first person has offboarded. We've got 70 more consented last week. By Christmas, we should be up to about 400 out of 1,000 and complete the 1,000 sometime in February or March. The primary purpose of that study is to prove that people are willing to pay out of pocket while we're waiting for reimbursement and hopefully for MSIT to come back onto the equation in Q2 or Q3 next year. So this is the fibromyalgia pivotal that I told you about. Mount Sinai is a neuropathic pain study that's going on. More than half of that is diabetic neuropathy, but the rest is a mixed bag of neuropathic pain. And again, obviously, we're talking about central mediation of pain. So we are looking for partnerships to work with for people who have the SCS people, for example, for peripheral neuropathic pain, and because the combination of two should definitely be more powerful than each individually. The next pivotal start will be anxiety, and then the fourth one will be PTSD, for which we've just recently got a Department of Defense grant for military operational medicine, and that's going to be done at the Military University of South Carolina. Next after that will be burns pain, and as acute pain, if we have 2 chronic pain indications plus 1 acute pain, that gives us the ability to get a broad pain indication. The aim is that by the end of next year, we will have a broad pain indication such that anybody going into a physician, and the physician realizes that anxiety is a component of that pain, they will be able to prescribe our device. We have a whole bunch of IP, which I can go into in the Q&A if people want to see it. And a very strong team ready not just to get us through the clinical trials, but also launch the device. And yes, so we've raised 18 million since we started. And we are in the middle of a safe note bridge round of 6 million, of which we've already raised 4. And I welcome any questions on that as well. So I'm going to leave the rest of the time for Q&A. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Richard. And let's see if there's, do we have any questions from the Zoom world? If not, I have one I wanted to throw at you. I'll go ahead and do that. So, Richard, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the interplay between your 513G, which is really a non-medical, non-healthcare application, and your FDA-approved product pipeline. And I'm curious, and we've actually seen this from a lot of vendors who have one foot in the consumer neurotech space and one foot in the healthcare market. I'm wondering what the reaction has been from investors. You know, the advantage, presumably, for a lot of these firms is that they can have a revenue stream earlier from the consumer marketplace. But want to see where you want to go with this. Do you foresee a time where Sana would say either spin off the consumer application or partner with other firms? Do you envision opening up APIs for software developers who might want to customize the experience, so it's not a therapeutic experience, but maybe some kind of entertainment? What do you see as the possibilities for the coexistence of your non-medical and your medical products?
Well, really for us, it is about speeding up R&D, because the existence of the wellness offering means that we are allowed to test new algorithms and new ways of doing things in the consumer offering that we can then launch onto the medical device as a consumer offering on the medical device.
Got it. Without
having to worry about it first. And the most important example of that is the closed loop feedback system. So come Q3, we will be actively we will be deploying a closed loop feedback system, which in real time will be measuring which of the sub algorithms are having a better effect on the user in real time, and then focusing on those. Now, the FDA's guidance on closed loop feedback systems in our space is essentially non-existent at this stage. And the fact that we can actually go, the fact that we can actually take, deliver it on the 513G version, collect that data, and then submit real world data to the FDA in afterwards, means that we can hit those milestones without having to have a massive FDA question mark over it. So that is long term. We're likely to carry on doing a little bit of the consumer offering because of what it allows us to do on the FDA side. Now, the only downside is that we still have to price it essentially for the price, round about the prices that we want reimbursement for, which means that we're very highly priced for something in the wellness space, which means that almost everybody who buys a device is actually buying it for a chronic disease. So out of the 200 devices we've sold, everyone has a severe problem of some kind that is related to pain, anxiety, or sleep, or a combination of all three.
And just to interrupt, Richard, that pricing constraint is because of the ongoing studies that you're doing, and you need that data to be relevant. It's not that anyone has told you, oh, you must price your product at this level. Well,
we've been warned repeatedly that you don't want to try and argue uphill from a consumer price to an FDA price. And even though the next generation of device is going to be a very large step up, we still want to be roughly in the same ballpark, because otherwise it creates a difficulty in justifying what the reimbursed price is.
Yeah, understood. Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions for Richard? Anyone from the audience, Laden, or anyone from the Zoom world? Okay, with that, I'd like to say thank you very much.